Welcome, everybody. I'm ZS Diamante, the award-winning fantasy author of the Stone and Sky series, and now we've got Guard in the Garden coming very, very soon, and I'm excited to be talking with one of my favorite people in the publishing industry, Peter Leppard.
Oh, you're going to make me blush. I'm going to clash with my t-shirt. Dearie me.
For those that don't
keep
know.
Going. Keep it up. Keep it up.
For those that don't know, Peter is the amazing, wonderful, spectacular, I just got to keep coming up with words, epic narrator of the Stone and Sky series. If you haven't listened to it, what are you doing? He's incredible. I've gotten so many amazing comments from people that are just like, oh my gosh. You know, Stone and Sky was this epic fantasy with multi-POV, with all sorts of different characters, goblins and orcs and humans and elves and dwarves and all sorts of different characters. And people just love the fact that you use all sorts of voices and they fall in love with your narration. And so you're the man.
It is just such a fun story to tell. Like every POV, you've got something going on that anyone can connect to. So it's great. It's absolutely
and it's so fun. It's, you know, funnily enough, my children and we listen to audiobooks every day on the way to school, right? And my daughter, she's been a little slower to read the books. She has a bad habit of starting to read a book, but then she'll start like 17 books and she like rotates around. So she never actually like finishes a book. She finally finished reading Stone and Tide. So now she's caught up with my son and they wanted to listen to the third one together. And so that's what we're listening to in the car. And it's so fun because obviously I've listened to it before. I've heard it before. I read it 17,000 times when I had to edit it, right? Before sending it to you. And even edited it several times after you got it when I caught mistakes because I was listening to it and reading it at the same time. It's a totally different experience, right? But
very much so.
It's so cool to listen to the story with my children who are hearing it for the first time, right? And they know these characters. Obviously, they read the other books. So they're so excited to hear you voicing all these different characters just in a different way than they've heard. And it's so fun because they're so excited about it.
Good. That means that my job is done. If they're excited about it, and I am happy. I am happy.
Well, and I know you and I have talked before, and you tested out voices on your own kids with these books.
I did. Yep. So it's funny you say that because we've actually started listening to the series ourselves. We're about half of the way through Stone and Sky. My kids will just be roaring with laughter. That's why you said that to us like this. And I'm going, yeah. If you hadn't guessed by now, I'm practicing.
If you didn't know what Dad was doing,
right,
this is why I say things weird to you all the time.
Dad, you sound funny. I'm supposed to, darling.
I'm practicing a voice, okay? Yep. It has to happen. They're hearing Karnak say something, and they're like,
"Yep,
wait, that's Dad. He sounds like that sometimes. He sounds like an orc sometimes. This is weird." That's so funny. So you're at the grocery store just sounding like an orc, and people are like,
"Yep."
Can't help it. I can't help it.
Welcome to Wendy's. Can I take your order?
I'll take. Sorry, I'll take.
And it's hard enough to hear through those things anyways, right?
Person on the other end is like, huh?
Sir? Oh, that's great, man. That's great. Well, you know, it's so fun because you and I've got to do 4 books together already. It's been such a fun process. We've kind of gotten to grow together. The Stone and Sky series were my first audiobooks, and you were kind of a little bit unknown at this point in the audiobook space. So we kind of have been able to grow together, which has been so much fun. But we're also working on a new book now. We're working on Guard in the Garden. And
the secret's out.
The secret's out. I mean, if you couldn't read on the screen.
What does it say at the bottom of the screen there?
There's a new book coming, Guard in the Garden, which takes place in Finlestia, which is the same world that Stone and Sky is in, but it's a little different. It's not an epic fantasy. It's a cozy fantasy. And it's the first book in a brand new series called The Fables of Finlestia, which is going to be a whole string of cozy books in the series. Finlestia, for me, was just such a fun and amazing world that I got to play around in. And I just thought, man, this would fit so perfectly for some cozy books. Now, you've read Garden the Garden. You've given me the first go through of the audiobook, which I'm diving into and having so much fun with because it is always cool to hear your work in audio for the first time. But I chose you again because I was like, my dude knows Finlestia. He lives in Finlestia. He's with me on this adventure. He's got to continue in Finlestia. Talk to me about how this one was different from the other Finlestia books.
Oh, gosh. I think my favorite way to describe it is, as we go through the Stone and Sky, Stone and Tide, Stone and Ruin series, we explore so many wonderful places. We go from town to forest to village, across the seas, and so on and so on. And then when we come to Garden the Garden, we set our roots in a certain district of a certain city. And we get to see how the events of that epic story that we just closed off has impacted the day-to-day lives on these people who we had no idea about before, but who we become intimately familiar with in this one.
Yeah. It's funny because obviously Garden the Garden is a standalone. You can read Garden the Garden without having read the Stone and Sky trilogy, and that'll work just fine for you. But there are Easter eggs and nuggets and things that you read through Garden the Garden and you're like, oh, cool. That was the thing that happened in Stone and Sky. And it was so fun for me to kind of draw some of those threads together and piece them together, but also tell an entirely unique story that really, at the same time, has nothing to do with the Stone and Sky trilogy. And it was very much more personal, right? Because this cozy fantasy is very intimate versus this huge multi-POV sprawling epic. Now we're kind of in this one place following this one specific character and all the people that he meets along the way. And it was very personal for me, this story. For those that don't know, haven't read the blurb yet, Garden the Garden is a cozy fantasy, but it is a veteran's healing journey. Our main character, his name is Felton. He's a dwarven warrior. He's part of the elite Garvok warriors of Gallium, and he's injured in a battle. And he has to figure out how to do life after spending his entire life trying to become a warrior, training to be this one thing, and now he can't be that one thing. And as a veteran, man, it is so hard to go from being somebody who is part of something way bigger, part of this crazy brotherhood, and then now you're kind of isolated because you're not a part of it anymore. And I know from personal experience that veterans will totally get this book, and it should really resonate with them. But as somebody who's not a veteran, I would love to hear your thoughts on the book, just as a general overview. Obviously, we don't want to give away spoilers.
No, of course, So, spoiler-free take. When we started the journey together for Garden the Garden, my initial thought was, I know the vision that Zach has. How can I do it justice, having not had the experience of that brotherhood, of that need to adapt from one lifestyle to another? So I read the story, and then I read it again, and then I read it again. And I discovered that you can find aspects of connection. You can find your own self in these stories, albeit maybe not through the POV, the point of view of the main character. I've never been in Felton's shoes. I know that you have, Zach, but I've always wanted to be the type who can stand by someone who has. So you take that and you say, right, what can I do to stand by my brother, my friend, my this, my that, and the other? And how can I learn to be what they need me to be going through these situations? And the world that you've created, the streets that we get to walk in Garden the Garden, is that learning opportunity to get us ready for those real life situations.
That's great. Obviously, this is kind of a really deep topic, right? It's a very tough topic. And when I was approaching Garden the Garden, I was bringing this really difficult topic of PTSD, isolation, trying to figure out who you are after you've spent your entire life aiming at one thing. And these are really tough topics, but I had to write them in this cozy fantasy. And we had to have fun doing it, right? There had to be fun moments and there had to be exciting things that happen. And we had to be able to laugh and smile, even though we have some difficult topics to tackle. How do we do that? Well, we create a lot of really fun characters. Now, without spoiling anything, I don't think you'll spoil anything. Were there specific characters that you, as the narrator, really enjoyed getting to play around with?
I'd say there were 3 or 4. Yeah. Now, I loved all of them. I love all of them. I poured everything that I have into many of them, but there are a few of them where I'm going, that's me. There I am, you know.
Share some names. I don't mind.
Okay. I mean, no, I fell deeply in love with Captain Bradnir. I loved Tullen. I'll leave it at those 2 for the moment, just because I don't want to get into spoiler territory. But there are many types of folks in there that anyone can connect with.
That's awesome. Obviously, you guys don't know who these characters are yet, but you'll get to know who they are. It's funny that you mentioned them specifically because I definitely could hear you in my head. It's funny how we've grown together, right? I've written books since knowing you and since having you read my previous books, right? And it's funny how as I'm writing certain characters, I can hear specifically how you will sound in my head while I'm writing those characters.
Well, there you go.
Maybe I've heard your voice way too often. I don't know. But that's great. I love that. It's kind of funny because it did shift the way that I think about writing characters, because you have specific tones and you have specific ways about the way you use your voice so talentedly, of course. Oh man, if he says this or this, Peter will sound awesome when he's doing this. You know what I mean?
No, I know. I'll be honest and say there were several times where I'm going, I would say that. That's exactly what I would say. Given the situation, if someone did this, I'd totally do that. That's self-discovery, always and forever.
Self-discovery, always. I love that. People think that writing is like this isolated, like you do it by yourself. You get to go into a cabin in the woods, disappear, and just write away, and you never have to see anybody ever again, right? Like you just pass off your manuscript and it just becomes this magical book, right?
The great lie of our time.
Especially the publishing.
Honestly. Hey, guess what, guys? You'll never be able to put experience on paper if you don't experience it yourself.
Right. Yeah, exactly. As I've done this, I've gotten to know artists for covers and artists for interior work, and I've gotten to know editors, and I've gotten to know you and even other narrators as a part of this industry because of the experience of all of the people around you and all the people that put their hands to the books. It changes you and the way that you write. And I think it makes you better, personally.
Yeah. Like I said, you'll never be able to put experience on the page or through the microphone unless you go out those doors and get it,
Certainly. I mean, especially for you with bringing emotion to the performance of the audiobook, you got to be able to feel it.
Yeah.
Writers are supposed to try to make you feel during the process, but if you have no real world experience with anything remotely close to that, well, how are you going to bring the emotion to it?
Of course. I mean, so again, with regards to Felton's experiences, I never served in the military, but how many of us out there can look at each other and say that they have not had experiences of feeling unsure or of feeling like you want to so desperately be there for someone, for something? When someone on the page says, I love you, there has to be some experience behind someone giving voice to that or someone writing that to be able to really make that count.
Yeah.
Because, anyone can make a voice. Anyone in the world can make a silly voice. But to breathe life into that voice, that's where you've got to get that experience. You've got to get that, all of those other things to fill in what you're saying.
Totally agree. And you do such a great job with that. I'm always impressed. I'm not worthy. And it's so funny because now I get to listen to it with my children in the car because they would rather listen to you than, read my writing. So what does that tell you? I don't know.
Sorry. I chastise myself and beg your forgiveness.
Again, you don't have to read the Stone and Sky trilogy to read Guard in the Garden. You can start with Guard in the Garden and jump right in. I think it's a great way to do that. I did that specifically because they are different. They're different types of books. However, if you love the world of Finlistia, I did include some things that cross over into both places, that do cross over into the Stone and Sky series, and vice versa. There are some nuggets that, come up in Garden the Garden. I guess this will be hard for you to answer without spoilers, but let me put you on the spot. Was there any moment, surprise guests, surprise nuggets, or anything that got you really excited?
I'll say it this way. If I come out with a blooper reel for while I'm recording this book, which I may or may not, it depends. We'll see. If I come out
Tell
with
him
that,
to do it.
There will be many a time when you hear me go, "Oh, he's here! Yes, this is here. She said that."
I didn't ask him that beforehand, guys. I had to ask him that now. I wanted the genuine reaction. Speaking of bloopers, you go through things, you do everything you can to try to make books perfect and audiobooks perfect, but there are so many bloopers along the way, right?
All the time.
We were talking earlier about how I created a bunch of images and stuff to try and make the book really nice, like I always do with all the books, like chapter headers and stuff. And I made a boo-boo and put them all in as PNGs instead of JPEGs. So the file size was massive. I had somebody reach out to me who was like, your ebook is 50 something megabytes. I've never seen an ebook this big. And of course it didn't work. It was all busted up. And so I had to go back and fix that. You unfortunately got a little bit of a busted up one, but we got that squared away.
The one thing I will share with the fans, so you guys will always hear me in the other 4 books. You'll hear me start each chapter with chapter and then the name. Chapter 12, chapter 13, chapter 24. I open up the EPUB on this one and I'm going, section. Section? Well, that's smart. So each time I told Zach before, each time I recorded that, I made sure I had my pinky up. Section 12.
Section 7.
Just to get a text from Zach saying, why the heck are you saying that?
My wife and I started listening to it. As we do, we always go and we listen to it to try to find any quirks or weird things. And we started listening to it. And it was section 1. And we were like, section? What is... That's weird. What is that? And then go figure, chapter 2. Section 2. We're like, wait, something's weird here. What's going on? Hey, bloopers are great. Sometimes you get them on camera. Sometimes you don't. So what are you going to do? We'll just tell you about them later.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, Peter, it has been such a pleasure to get to work with you. You and I have become fast friends. I love hearing from you whenever you text me. It's amazing. I always love hearing about the family and everything else. Since we've been doing this, I've grown a lot on the indie publishing side, indie writer side. I've seen a lot of growth for me as an author. Have you been seeing a lot of good stuff going for you as a narrator?
Oh, very much so. Very much so. I've been able to get to know so many other wonderful folks in this creative space through your network and through being able to see other authors, other creatives, other voice actors, and learning from them, be it through the few messages through the social media, or be it through watching some of their content, or just through just listening to them, just learning from them. Huge bit of growth, if in no other means than just personally. From a me level.
Oh yeah, I feel that for sure. One of the things that I always try to keep in the forefront is that no matter who I'm engaging or who I'm speaking with, there is something I can learn from them. It doesn't matter. I don't know what it's going to be, but I can guarantee you that there is something I can learn from them. We do talk to a lot of people now. And so if we can glean something that'll make us better, I'm all about it.
Yep, amen to that. I call it my ABCs. Always be curious.
That's it. Yeah. I love it. Well, hey, we're running pretty good time. We'll go ahead and wrap it up here. We did discuss some things that we're not going to let you guys know about yet. Just going to drop that little teaser right there for you guys. Peter will beat me for you guys. But some really cool and exciting things coming aside from Garden the Garden, which I'm really excited for you guys to hear and get your hands on, because I really truly believe that this is the most beautiful story that we've worked on to this point. And I think this one can really have a great impact aside from just bringing you joy and having fun. I'm really excited for you guys to check out Garden the Garden. Make sure to check it out. It comes out officially on March 4th, 2025. So we're only a few months away, and the audiobook should be ready to go out at the same time. So
if not, you can stone me in the streets or something. The book is ready for that time.
If not, I'll take that hammer and get him too. Get him back.
Would you like to borrow this?
Yes, let me borrow it. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. I hope you enjoyed this chat with an author and narrator. I always love doing this, so we're going to have to do more of them. But
oh, yeah, for sure. Ping any questions that you guys have down below in the old comments. Let us know. Maybe someday we can do one live with you guys and you can fire us questions and all that good stuff right from the off.
That's it. Yeah. And also tell him in the comments that he needs to put together that blooper reel for sure.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Get him. All right, guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
All right. From dragonfire to garden flowers, embark on a wholesome journey of healing and self-discovery. A cozy fantasy tale of forging new friendships and overcoming fears. A quiet quest of family bonds and budding romance. Take a walk through the garden and see what magic awaits.
Get myself ready.
Here we go.
I got to get my voice ready so I can come up to your level.
100%. Sorry, I was having a little bit of a technical glitch. How many of us out there can honestly look at each other? There's that voice lesson going on.
I've seen all sorts of different things happening, including things I'm not even allowed to talk about yet, right? So like things that will be announced at some point.